Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to have you all in today's debate, organized by Sabah TV and Cleat Group in Afghanistan and Dunya TV in Pakistan. Thank you all for coming. My name is Najeeb Sharifi and I'm the host of the Afghanistan side of today's debate.
And I'm your host in Islamabad, and with me is a distinguished panel of Air Vice Marshal retired Shahzad Chaudhry. He's a former diplomat, an ambassador, and a senior defense and foreign policy affairs analyst. And sitting next to him is Mr. Ayaz Wazir, a former diplomat who has served in Afghanistan, and he has been on the Afghanistan desk in Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 1997 to 2001.
The subject of our today's discussion is peace in Afghanistan and Pakistan. What the two nations can do that could lead to a peaceful future in both countries. Distinguished guests with me here at the studio, whom I'm going to introduce for you. Mr. Masoom is currently advisor to President Karzai and director of the Secretariat of High Peace Council, the main body with the mission of negotiating peace with the Taliban and other insurgent groups. He worked as communications minister from 2002 to 2004. I would like to thank you and the guests at the studio in Pakistan again for your participation in this debate, and want to hand over the floor to Arshad, Sharif at Dunya Studio. Welcome to the live debate between Sabah and Dunya Studios.
Thank you very much for outlining the objectives of this first tele-diplomacy between Islamabad and Kabul, and outlining the objectives of initiating the people-to-people contacts and helping more understanding between the two countries. And as the end game of the war against terror in Afghanistan enters its withdrawal stage, the shadows of the Cold War and its legacies, and the legacies of the war against terror, are still with us. Now the big question is, will the future of Pakistan and Afghanistan be determined by the lurking shadows of the great games which are played in this region, or the two countries can coexist as peaceful neighbors, very much aware of the stakes which the big powers have already outlined in the new game which is beginning in the region? I would like to ask my first question to Mr. Stenegzai, who is also advisor to President Hamid Karzai on national security. Mr. Stenegzai, we have seen two long protracted wars in Afghanistan. My first question is, who has betrayed whom in these wars?
This is a very valid question. Always Afghanistan, the history is always repeated from time to time. And I think Afghanistan and Pakistan has so many things in common and in this region. And there is no doubt that Afghanistan is suffering from the protracted war over the past 33 years. And I think this is not only, we should not put all the blames on the Afghans or on the people of Afghanistan. This is something broader than an issue within Afghanistan. This includes issues with the region. It is conflicting interests of the countries in the region. There is the bigger game among the bigger power. There is no doubt that Afghanistan has suffered from the legacy of the Cold War, and also of the policies that the politicians, that the governments, both in the region and beyond the region, adopted towards Afghanistan to achieve their own goals and objectives, while they forgot that there are people who are living in this region, and they also have the rights, and they also want to live like other countries in the world, in peace, in prosperity, and get out of the trap of the poverty. So for that reason, I think people can blame and finger point to anybody. There is everybody in this game has something to be responsible and to be answerable. It is not only that that we should put all the blames on outside world, or put all the blames in the regional countries, or all the blame on our own people inside Afghanistan. This is something that we have to come to the reality. The only thing that will help us to get out of this trap is that, first, we need the unity within our own countries to come to the common grounds for the national unities, for people to bring them, to unite them, not to divide them, and not to be an instrument in the hand of the foreign elements to destroy their own countries. And I think this is happening both in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
We have talked about the regional interest, and there is intense competition between Afghanistan's neighbors, be it Pakistan, Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan or China. So what's the new end game and the new game which is being planned as the US forces and the Western forces are withdrawing from Afghanistan?
This is something that we have to think. The end game cannot be fully architectured by the outside world that will exactly work as somebody else is architecturing something for us. The most important thing is that we have to realize that the stability in Afghanistan is in the interest of all the countries in the region, whether it is Pakistan or India or Iran or China or what other countries. Afghanistan can play the role of a bridge for trade, for transit, for overcoming the current dilemma of the terrorism, for the current dilemma of interference in the affairs of Afghanistan. So all these things depends that how these different countries perceive that Afghanistan can become secure and safe while these countries cooperate rather than to promote and pursue their own objective through the elements of instability. That will be really helpful in order to devise a real peaceful endgame for Afghanistan.
My question is for Mr. Ayaz. It's evident that people of the two countries pay the biggest price to the current insecurity in both countries. What can the people of Pakistan, mainly the civil society, do to change the status quo and shape a peaceful and prosperous future?
Well, I'll refer to what our national poet Allama Iqbal has said about the Afghan millet. He says that Afghanistan, if we take Afghanistan in Asia as a human body, I mean Afghanistan is like a heart in the body of Asia, and when the heart is sick, the body is sick, and when the heart is fine, healthy, the body is healthy. With Afghanistan, obviously, the situation there, the two people suffer a lot. They have suffered, they have been through. What I recall from my reading that in Afghanistan, the long history that it has, more than 250 years, only the 40 years rule of King Zahir Shah was a bit peaceful. The rest was unfortunately not that peaceful. So the two people have suffered tremendously. And they can come to some kind of understanding each other's problem by interaction like what we are doing today. Afghanistan, we are lacking that interaction, unfortunately. There is very little. The parliamentarian come or our parliamentarian go, but I would love to see that students go also, and teachers and traders. I mean, people from all walk of life should interact, because Afghanistan is the gateway to the riches in Central Asia. We too, I mean Afghanistan and Pakistan and all the countries in the region, they cannot benefit from what we claim to be able to provide to Central Asia through Gwadar and Karachi, or from Central Asia to transport it through these two ports, unless there is peace in Afghanistan. So the two societies, the two people can contribute a lot. They can put pressure on their respective governments to not to do what they are accusing each other of doing, to which Stanakzai in a very diplomatic way referred, but I'll be a little blunt. So we have to address that question, and unless that is addressed, I'm afraid things will remain difficult as they are now. If you are raising finger at the government here, I'm not a spokesman of the government, but then there are things at your home also. Balochistan on our part is burning, and people seriously accuse your side to be interfering. So let's leave that, let's not enter into that. We know what is happening. I believe strongly that the solution of Afghanistan lies in Afghanistan and nowhere else. So you have to address first that, then the rest would certainly follow.
Well, Ayaz Wazir is saying that the solution of Afghanistan lies within Afghanistan, but there are some international realities. Mr. Stenekzai, is it clear to you what policies the United States wants to pursue in Afghanistan after 2014, which can stabilize both Pakistan's tribal areas as well as Afghanistan?
Thank you very much. As I mentioned before, that there is no need that somebody else has to devise a policy for us that how Afghanistan should be stabilized. There is a policy from the Afghan government and the Afghan society side that how we should move toward a stable Afghanistan up to 2014 and beyond 2014, and what kind of a support is required from the international community, and particularly from the US and other forces for Afghanistan. The 5 key elements of our policy to stabilize Afghanistan is laying on the first, that Afghanistan, to building the Afghanistan destroyed national security and civil and institutions. That is something which is ongoing. We want to strengthen that. Second very important issue is the process of transition that Afghanistan want to take over the responsibility for the security of its own people. And for that reason, Afghanistan is moving toward its full sovereignty. And that will be an issue that is being used as an excuse for the continuation of fighting by different elements, or wider or lower. The third important aspect of this to stabilize Afghanistan is the peace process. Because unless there is a national reconciliation where all Afghans can live in peace with each other within their own country, with the rights in accordance to the framework of the Constitution that should allow the Afghans to come together, to live with each other and live in their own country, and should not be an instrument in the hand of the other people to be used against their own interests in their own country. The third very important aspect is Afghanistan and Pakistan. I think this region is facing with the poverty, and it fuels criminality, it fuels the war economy, it fuels smuggling, drug. Those are also part of the problems. In order to overcome that, Afghanistan and Pakistan need, with the help of the rest of the international community, to focus on its own economic development. Without that, I think Afghanistan and Pakistan will not achieve a full stability. The fifth important element is the regional cooperation, and particularly of the immediate neighbor of Afghanistan, because our fate is together. The stability in Afghanistan means stability in Pakistan. Stability in Pakistan means stability in Afghanistan. And in fact, stability in both countries is stability in the whole region. And for that reason, Afghanistan wants to have long-term partnership with the international community, but Afghanistan also wants to have a very close cooperation in all aspects of life, including economy, culture, social, and people-to-people relation with all the countries in the region, and particularly with Pakistan, as we share so many common things. And still, there is so many Afghans living in Pakistan as a refugee. And I think we have a great potential of our people, of our scholars, of our ulamas, of our students, that they can work together to reduce violence. Because we should not use only violence as a means of achieving our objective, but we have to use other peaceful means that we can work, we can criticize each other, but at the same time, we can work together and achieve peace for the people in both countries.
Well, viewers, it's time for a quick short break, and once we return, we'll continue our discussion. This first tele-diplomatic initiative between Islamabad and Kabul, hosted by Dunya TV and Sabah TV in Kabul.
Welcome back, our dear participants. My second question is directed to Vice Marshal Mr. Chaudhry. There's huge opportunity for expansion of trade and economic cooperation between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Pakistan is a country full of natural resources, and Afghanistan is a country full of natural resources, and Pakistan is abundant in human resources. Can expansion of economic cooperation lead to peace in the two countries? If yes, how can the two countries shift their focus to economic cooperation and put aside the blame game.
Question that you make. In fact, Pakistan and Afghanistan are tied fully into a relationship which is contiguous nations. We are like two twins who cannot be separated from each other. I think the dependence that we've had over centuries for each other and with each other has proven the fact that there is no life for Afghanistan without Pakistan and no life for Pakistan without Afghanistan. Our cultural relations spread on both sides of the border. Our historic cultural relations exist. Our social relations exist, and that's a relationship that is not going to be dampened by anything else that we go through. Remember a couple of things. Pakistan and Afghanistan have actually stayed as two excellent neighbors with a really good relationship, except two periods when the pressures have been such that have strained relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And these two eras were indicated by our host here in Islamabad. One was the first time that the Soviet Union walked into Afghanistan and practically dominated Afghanistan. And the next time is now, when the US is actually sitting in Afghanistan, and that is why there is quite a bit of a straining of relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The point that I'm trying to make, that Al-Qaeda was a foreign group.
Mr. Chaudhry, sorry for the interruption. My question was specifically on seeking ways for expansion of economic cooperation.
I'm trying to reach there. If you could just let me finish, please. So what I'm trying to tell you is that when you have these foreign forces pulled out of Afghanistan and Pakistan and for the border regions of Pakistan, and you leave the decision making to the people of these two countries alone, I think these two people will then be able to make decisions which are in their best interest. Afghanistan and Pakistan both sit as fulcrums in the region, fulcrums of energy corridors, fulcrums of trade corridors, fulcrums of transit from one side to the other. Look at the larger region from India to almost Central Asia and Iran. Now, if you look at all this, between them sits Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I mean, there is a transit trade agreement between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Many of your supplies go through Pakistan. But we need to expand this. And the only way that we can expand this will be in case peace arrives here, ceasefire takes place, this war ends, we are able to think differently than the war. Until the time that we think of war only, and the way we think that why one side is imposing war on the other, if we can get rid of this particular area, and we hopefully will be able to do that beyond 2014, we should be able to make our own decisions and make this an integrated, homogeneous economic entity rather than just looking at adversaries or adversarial context with each other.
Mr. Ayaz, Wazir, you are a career diplomat who has been overseeing the Afghanistan policy of Pakistan for a long time, and you have also been dealing with the big powers in your role as a diplomat. Has the US clearly outlined its withdrawal plans after 2014 and what it will do to stabilize Afghanistan and Pakistan?
Well, the US has made it clear to some extent, but when we look at the role that the US has played so far in Afghanistan, that makes it a bit, what word should one use for? It would be difficult to accept what they have said. For me, at least, I'm not talking about the Afghans. The US, when they came in, the objective were very clear. They made it two objectives. One was to remove the Taliban from the government, and the other was to defeat Al-Qaeda, which their leaders have said it repeatedly that we have achieved that. If they
has that been achieved?
Well, this is what they say. Well, the Taliban have obviously been removed.
Mr. Senazai, has it been achieved that Taliban and Al-Qaeda are effectively defeated and large tracts of Afghanistan's territory, they are not under Taliban control? And once the US withdraws, who will fund the Afghan bureaucracy and the Afghan army? How many billions of dollars are needed for that? Who will provide that?
I think this is part of the wider Afghan government and the international community efforts that how to ensure that the history of the 90s is not repeated. After 2014, the Afghanistan army and the Afghanistan national institution, they can be funded through two means. One, as you know, that recently the Chicago conference was concluded, and there was a commitment for continuous support for the Afghan national security and institution beyond 2014 to 2024. The second, in the coming month of July, there will be another international conference in Tokyo that will also discuss the fiscal stability of Afghanistan beyond 2014. And I think these two are the two very strong fundamental commitment from the rest of the world that Afghanistan should not fall the political system and the roadmap that we have put together, that Afghanistan should move to a sovereign country and eventually Afghanistan should stand on its own feet. There is the very important question that my friend has asked regarding that the possibility of economic cooperation. Afghanistan has a lot of resources. There is a lot of potential for trade and investment. There is a lot of potential for mineral resources that the investment in these areas can flourish the economy in Afghanistan, can gradually increase its contribution to support its own national civil and military bureaucracies. So I'm pretty confident that we will not be getting back to the mistake of the 90s.
One question for Mr. Ayaz. As it's evident from the conversation, there is deep mistrust between the two states. Afghanistan and the two states, Afghanistan and Pakistan. What role can the people of the two nations play in clearing the cloud of the current mistrust and opening a new chapter in the relations between the two countries? Because obviously we noticed that the blame game did not take us anywhere in the past decade.
Well, it's a good question, but I'm afraid there can't be a quick solution to it. The mistrust is not limited only to the American coming into Afghanistan. It is way back, more than 30 years. So to clear this backlog, you have to work carefully, step by step, and do some confidence building measures, which unfortunately, as I said in my earlier statement, there I don't see interaction between the two people. Like we see in other countries, there are so many restrictions. We have to come forward. We leave the two governments. Let the two governments either accuse each other or embrace each other, but we as two people, we should do our business with each other. We should interact, we should meet, and we should find a solution. But for that to do, I'm afraid, I go again to my earlier statement that first you have to address your internal problem. I'm sorry, it looks bad as if you do not know or you do not realize you do. But we have not yet talked about the core issue in Afghanistan. We are talking of reconciliation, of peace process, of developing Afghanistan, or the role of the regional countries or the neighboring countries. I'm not denying that is a very good way, fine, very well. But what about the core issue, those who are fighting against the American or the foreign forces or the government in Afghanistan? We have not addressed that. What is the Afghan government doing to convince the Taliban to come and accept the constitution of the country and sit down with them and share the government with them? If the Taliban were to share as is recommended under the constitution or accept the present government, then why would they be fighting for 11 long years? So this is a core issue. When that is addressed, I'm afraid that will smoothen the road for our interaction between each other. Otherwise, I'm afraid there are hurdles.
That's a very important point, Mr. Ayaz Wazir, which you have raised, and I would like to bounce it back to Mr. Stanigzai. Will there be a political deal with the Taliban to ensure stability in Afghanistan, or after the withdrawal of Western troops, we will see a renewal of the civil war?
We are welcoming and we have facilitated most of those excuses that Taliban or any other groups who claim that they are fighting because of this. They said we are fighting because of the presence of the foreign troops. We say that there is a transition and the international forces should leave. But it is not possible that any force will be able to control Afghanistan and have monopoly on the power and deny anybody else. Afghanistan will never be stabilized unless there is a wider, broader, inclusive process where all Afghan has the chance to be part of it. And Talibanists who are Afghans, they are part of the Afghan society. They have to come, they have to join, they have to be shared. The power can, they can be part of the power sharing issue. But at the same time, I think we have to overcome the policies of ignorance and denial. That is something that we are cheating with ourselves. We pretend that something is wrong in Afghanistan. We pretend that something is wrong in Pakistan. I think that pretension and that perceptions should be removed if we want to have a real discussion and debate, both among the civil society, people to people discussion, and government to government discussion. I think that discussion should not be impacted by the perception in the environment in which we are living. And we are ready to enter into a very constructive dialogue with Pakistan, with any countries in the region, in order to really build the confidence. What are the real issues that will prevent us not to bring it on the surface and not to discuss it? And I think that is the role of the civil society from both countries, that they should not be covered by the politicians and the people are kept in the dark. Let's people understand. And we should tell them the real stories. Some of the things that are not coming to the surface is because that even our policies are impacting how the medias are operating in many ways. And for that reason, I think it is very important. The people-to-people relation can play an important role. I'm not denying that there is everything we are saying it is absolutely 100% correct. What you are saying that is 100% correct. There is a middle way. There are facts in both sides, and there are problems. And this problem has to be addressed. And this problem cannot be addressed only with words. These problems can be addressed with action, with continuous interaction, but not with too many up and downs. One day we are good friends, brothers and sisters. The next day we are accusing each other. And then in the next day we're again good friends. I think we need a continuity.
Well, it's time for a quick break, and once we come back, we will have questions from the audience. Stay with us.
Now we are going to give the floor to our dear audiences. I see a couple of people who want to ask questions. You gentlemen in the front.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sulaiman Al-Mamzad, a member of Afghanistan New Generation Organization. I wanted to ask a question from either guests of Pakistan and from the people of Pakistan. Why don't you people take any action towards your government or against your government? Because it has been proven, and everybody knows, that in borders of Pakistan and even in Abbottabad, close to Islamabad, Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, was found there. And if the people of Pakistan do not take any action, then what will happen? Why is Pakistani people not taking any action toward their government supporting Al-Qaeda or Taliban?
Let me take that. I think it's a total fallacy in case people in Afghanistan or anywhere think that Pakistan supports Taliban or supports Al-Qaeda. If we were to support Al-Qaeda or Taliban, that's a huge price to pay for this thing. And then for what reason? Remember one thing, that Pakistan is suffering because of Afghan groups on our soil. Afghan groups happen to be on our soil. We have actually liberated a lot of area. We continue to fight on a daily basis. Perhaps people in Afghanistan do not know. Orakzai, our agencies are infested with the groups coming from across the border. I think that's the area is that we need to actually cooperate and concentrate our efforts towards recovering our lands from the bad people.
I would ask the Pakistani panelists to tell us if there is indeed such a policy being pursued by the Pakistani government to change the mindset of Pakistani people towards Pakistan, because there have been mobile messages that are being received by Pakistani nation when Americans are dying in Afghanistan or Afghani soldiers are being attacked.
You are partially right, I would agree with you, but let's look at it. Why do we accuse each other of this? But I think things are not that bad. If you recall, in early 1960s, we had a war with India, and your government, despite the fact that our relations were not that good, assured our government not to worry about the western border. And then let's not forget the migration of more than 400 refugees into Pakistan during the Soviet occupation. We not only welcomed them but opened the entire country for them. We want a friendly Afghanistan. The days, I agree with you, of the strategic depth are gone. Nobody pursues that. Our army chief, I think, said it in one of his foreign trips, that we want to have a friendly Afghanistan. We do not pursue the strategic depth. So I think those were the days. Ziaulak days are gone. That is much behind. Let's look forward. The two people understand very well and can live happily with each other.
Can I just add to that a little bit? You know, this question itself is indicative of the mindset problem that exists on both sides. So I think people in Afghanistan, my younger brother who asked this question, or a son, perhaps like a son, needs to look at this very clearly, that why would Pakistan like Afghanistan to convert Afghanistan into an enemy? This is how the propaganda that actually gets delivered on both sides of the border continues to impact, and we lose that particular sense of how to analyze and say, why would a country like Pakistan actually want to create a nutcracker situation on both sides of the border? We do not have any sense of a strategic depth. There is no possibility. The strategic depth exists in our minds, and in the sense that if we two countries and two people are merged together into a beautiful economic entity along with the rest of the region, I think that shall be the strategic depth that people of this region deserve. And if we can somehow continue to look at that as a focus and that as an objective, these apprehensions that we show for each other will perhaps vanish, and we will be able to look at each other in true light and in the correct light.
Thank you, Marshal Chaudhry. We have a question from the audience. Yes.
Student at Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Institute of Science and Technology. I'm majoring in political science and conflict resolution. As a student of political science and conflict resolution, it is of constant curiosity to me as to what the policy or the rhetoric of America to actually consider the Taliban in light of a good Taliban and a bad Taliban actually is perceived on the Afghan front. And I would actually want to know what the Afghans actually think about this policy of considering an entity which you clearly mentioned should actually be made part of the political process in two different lights.
There is no distinction who is good, who is bad. We want all Afghans, no matter who these Afghans, where this Afghan is living. As far as they leave violence and they commit to a political process, and they want to pursue their goal and objective through a peaceful means, that is something that we are pursuing. That is how you can achieve peace and stability, and how you resolve the conflict. There is different dynamics in the conflicts. Criminals can operate under the name of Taliban. There is kidnappers who can operate. There is drug lords who operate. There is other element who don't want the stability in this region, who can operate and pursue the different goals. But they can operate under one brand name, which is more marketable in the political term. So for that reason, it is a complex process, but it can be achieved and it can be resolved if there is a clear policy, which is there now, and at the same time, when the countries are giving a statement and saying that we are supporting an Afghan-owned elite peace process, whether they actually do it, whether they mean it. If they don't mean it, that doesn't happen. And that means that it creates more bottlenecks. So for that reason, this is why we are saying that we are in the middle of a very complicated situation. There is a different perception, and we have to have a dialogue with all parts in order to clarify our mindset and to understand each other better. When we understand each other better, then we know that whatever is good for Pakistan, that is good for Afghanistan. What is good for Afghanistan, that is good for Pakistan. Why somebody, the same ulama in Pakistan, say that or in the region, they say that there is no girls should go to school in Afghanistan, but why they should go, their own daughters, why they should go to school? And I think this is something we have to think more broadly. So I think these are some of the things that we have to overcome and change. And basically, it needs the dialogue. A dialogue between the different layers. It is not only about the academics, about the government people, but it is about the ordinary people, the tribal leaders, the scholars, the ulamas, they can play a very important role that how to reduce this violence and pursue through a peaceful means to achieve the goal of stability in both countries.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, we have to wrap it up here. One thing is crystal clear, and that is we seek peace, and we need peace, and we want peace. I would like to thank all of the organizers. Special thanks to Mr. Sharif in Islamabad, and Mr. Ayaz, and Mr. Chaudhry, and Mr. Stanekzai in Kabul, and to all of the participants both in Pakistan and Afghanistan. I thank you very much. We wish you success.
Thank you, Najeeb. Majority of the people in both Pakistan and Afghanistan, they are genuinely tired of war. There is a genuine desire for peace, security and development in the people of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now the big question is, will the leaders and policy makers move ahead of the tide of history and ensure peace in the region? I thank you, Mr. Najeeb Sharifi, Mr. Stanekzai, Air Vice Marshal Shahzad Chaudhry, and Ayaz Wazir, and all the participants here in Islamabad and Kabul. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.